Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. So thank you so much. All right, we're going to give people just another second to get into the webinar, and then we'll get started with everything. So just hang tight one more minute. All right, everyone, we're going to get started. So hello and welcome to the National Down Syndrome Society's webinar, Envisioning Possibilities, a panel on entrepreneurship for the Down syndrome community. We are so excited to have you join us today to celebrate the launch of our entrepreneurship guide and to learn today from our expert panel of entrepreneurs. So very excited to have you all, and just want to also express and thank our panelists for their support in making this webinar possible. Many of today's panelists have also played a vital role in helping us to develop our entrepreneurship guide, and we're so grateful for their contributions, and we look forward to telling you a bit more about the guide here later in today's webinar. So in just a few minutes, you're going to hear firsthand from entrepreneurs about their entrepreneurial journey and some of the challenges that they've faced along the way. Each of today's panelists is at a different stage in their entrepreneur journey and their business ventures, and we hope that the insights from today's meeting will help to inform you as you might be looking to pursue your own entrepreneurial endeavors. Before we dive into today's webinar content, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items to ensure everyone has an enjoyable experience throughout today's event. In case you have any technical issues during the webinar, please use the chat function to notify our support team, and they will do their best to assist you promptly. We will have a brief Q&A toward the end of today's webinar, and we encourage you to submit those questions that you might have throughout the presentation using the Q&A function that is located at the bottom of the taskbar in the Zoom platform. We will do our best to answer as many questions as possible throughout through today's webinar and during the designated Q&A time. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be available on the NDSS website in the future. So thank you all so much for your attention, and we hope that you enjoy today's webinar. All right, so just to share a little bit about the National Down Syndrome Society. The National Down Syndrome Society was founded in 1979 and is the leading human rights organization for all individuals with Down syndrome. Our vision is a world where all people with Down syndrome have the opportunity to enhance their quality of life and realize life aspirations, and also to become a valuable member of welcoming societies and welcoming communities. Employment is also obviously a big portion of that, and we'll share a bit more about our employment program in just a second. In terms of the NDSS and some of our core programmatic areas, we produce and work through resources and provide support. We do have a 1-800 helpline, and I will put that number in the chat here in just a few minutes, but that number is there on that slide as well. We also do work obviously in the advocacy and policy field, and also work on the community engagement portion. We offer scholarships and grants and awards, as well as some of you all might be familiar already with our buddy walks and some of the other program areas that work to support the Down syndrome community. The employment program, just to share a little bit on that, it centralizes around these different core areas: employment policy and advocacy, resource development, which is obviously the entrepreneurship guide would fall in that realm for today. Talking about entrepreneurship and self-employment, we have a number of success stories and different things to that effect about employment as well as entrepreneurs on our website. So that is something else that we always like to celebrate. We do private sector engagements, and that can range from interacting with companies to informing them and sharing information about hiring individuals with Down syndrome and different things of that nature. Affiliate support, and then also, as I mentioned a second ago, highlighting successes. So if you or a loved one has a story that they would like to share with us, we would encourage you to share your story, and I'll share that link in the chat as well here in just a minute. So thank you all so much for that. So before we actually get into talking with our entrepreneurs, we just wanted to take a moment here to pause and answer the question, what exactly is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is a person who owns a business. That is at the core, the essence of what an entrepreneur is. Oftentimes, though, many people believe that being an entrepreneur, that you must start a big business or have a formal business education. But in reality, the truth is most entrepreneurs run small businesses and are self-employed. And the majority of those entrepreneurs, believe it or not, do not have any sort of formal business education. So the thing with entrepreneurship too is that it's not a one size fits all and can look differently for everyone. Today, you're going to hear a little bit about that from our panelists as well. Now, one kind of key portion or thing to keep in mind as it relates to what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur is that it kind of lies at the intersection of these three key factors: love, customers, and the ability to replicate. All of these are going to be important, especially as you might be looking at or thinking about where does your passion lie and how does it align with a potential customer base, and how easy is it for you to continue to replicate that. So it is going to be important, and I know today's panelists are all going to share how they have been able to accomplish this and as finding their passion and love and being able to turn that into a replicable business. So our panelists will share a bit more about that here in just a second. I would now like to turn it over to my colleague Ryan to share a little bit more about today's about the entrepreneurship guide, and then he will shortly thereafter introduce you all to today's panelists.
Thank you so much, Amanda. As you mentioned, my name is Ryan Rotundo. I am the Director of Programs for the National Down Syndrome Society, and I am very pleased to be able to share with you all a little bit about the work we've been doing to develop an incredible resource, our NDSS Entrepreneurship Guide. This guide has been, I guess in some ways, a project that has been a long time coming. This is something that was handed off to me when I first came on board at the National Down Syndrome Society, and really wanted to make sure that we could deliver this to the community as a value add in the space of self-employment, solo entrepreneurship, and just in entrepreneurship in general. There's several terms that we'll probably throw out there that you all will hear in maybe different contexts. We'll try to explain all of those as much as possible. But really, this guide was a tremendous partnership. We worked in collaboration with an organization called Celebrate EDU. And this is a group that really does some incredible work around building curriculum and providing programming that will support individuals with Down syndrome and other intellectual developmental disabilities in helping them understand what it is to be an entrepreneur, starting and growing a small business at different stages, but then also understanding the meaningful skills that can be transferable between not only entrepreneurship and self-employment, but just employment and other vocational opportunities in general. So highly encourage you all to check out Celebrate EDU. We can probably get that website linked in the chat, and want to just give a good shout out to the folks there, Jenny Anderson and Linda Anderson, a mother-daughter team who just do a tremendous job providing this type of curriculum and programming. And then, of course, being able to help us develop the content of the resource itself. So you will see on our website, this entrepreneurship guide is now available under the employment program, under some of the printable resources, under the printable resources link on that employment program website. And this is something that is downloadable. We would highly encourage you all to take a quick look at that if you can, and feel free to, of course, access it digitally, or if you want to have a print copy of that, it is something that is relatively printer friendly. I'll say there's a lot of color and images and things like that, so just be mindful there. But we will also be carrying these along with us at the various conferences and events that we attend to be able to share more information about entrepreneurship. I will say that this is not a step-by-step guide to starting a business. So I want to be real clear on what it's not. This is not something that would actually give you the nuts and bolts pieces you would need to go through the Small Business Administration, or to be able to apply with your state Secretary of State office, or be able to incorporate as a one particular status or another as an LLC or a nonprofit organization. It doesn't go into those types of details. What this does is it helps individuals with Down syndrome and their families really begin the conversation around why entrepreneurship could be of value, or how this could be of value rather to the individual themselves, whether this is something that is essentially taking a hobby and turning it into a money maker, or if it's really looking at something that would be more financial stability in the long term for the individual with Down syndrome as they plan out their future. So really, again, it's helping to start those conversations to really think about, is this something that we want to do? Is it something that's right for us? I will say that having started and grown my own business as well, entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. It is something that takes a lot of work, time, support, and expertise in different areas. And it's something that is just really an important thing to think about as families are looking to the future and trying to really create these plans around their loved one with Down syndrome. So that's a little bit about the guide. You can see some of our speakers featured on the cover of this incredible resource. And we look forward to being able to share a little bit more of not only their stories, but the stories of others from the community within the guide itself. So I did say what it is not. One thing that I will also add that this guide offers is links to resources that can be helpful. So yes, it does actually provide links to the Small Business Administration, as well as several other entities that can provide additional information on how to incorporate your business, really looking at other statistics around business startup, and helping individuals understand what some of the other key players might be in getting your business off the ground. So looking at accounting or legal advice, those types of things. Obviously, we are not in a position to provide those pieces, but we can certainly provide information that would get you access to those individuals. And with that, we want to offer just a quick opportunity for introductions. So we have, as we mentioned, 4 incredible businesses that are represented here today. And they, I think, are unique in the fact that they each have their own sort of market and their own products and services. And we'll talk a little bit about that, or they will talk a little bit about that. But also want to acknowledge that these are diverse in geography as well. We have businesses all over the United States that represent different families, communities, cultures, and again, like I said, products and markets. So this is something to be thinking about, right? This is not a one-size-fits-all opportunity for people to get involved in entrepreneurship or business ownership. We want you all to think about, what are some of the entry points that might be viable for your family, or maybe you're just in touch with individuals with Down syndrome or other disabilities in your community, and you're on this webinar because you're thinking about, how can you guide them and help them in these steps? You'll get to hear from families what led them into this opportunity. So without further ado, I want to open up the floor and just ask our panelists. We'll start with Jan and Austin from Austin's Underdawgs. If you would tell us a little bit about yourselves and your business.
My name is Austin Underwood, but my last name is Austin's Underdawgs.
We have a hot dog food truck, and we've been in business for 7 years. Started in 2016. And tell them what you sell.
We sell hot dogs, and we try to do something easy.
Oh, and we're in Fort Worth, Texas, is where we're based.
Fantastic. And tell me about this real quick, this thing in the middle here, Austin. What is that? The big colorful thing on wheels?
Your truck.
That's my truck. It's the white one with my first food truck. We own
This one,
the
RV.
RV, and it's a 4-foot long RV.
It's 32 feet, and it's a Thor toy hauler. And we have the kitchen in the back of it.
That's incredible. I was gonna say you could fit a lot of hot dogs in that thing. Very
Yes.
cool. Great, awesome. Well, Austin, Jan, thank you so much for being here. We are excited to have you and look forward to learning more about Austin's Underdawgs.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Grace and Carrie Key from Candidly Kind. Tell us a little bit about your business, Grace, and kind of what you do.
My first I'm Grace Key, and we're from Georgia, Clarksville, the hometown. And I put my art on shirts, and one of these are my shirts that I did in high school. And my art teacher, Robin Prophet, asked me to do that.
So that was her art, and then we photographed the art and put it on shirts and totes and stickers and all kinds of stuff.
And took back.
Grace was a senior when we started the business out of some adversity. So our whole goal in starting the business was to pull some positivity out of that adversity. And we've been in business now, how long, Grace?
2018.
5 years. And
Fantastic.
it's been awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love that you started this business out of adversity, and I know your story well, and I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about it. But it's just incredible when you think about entrepreneurship and how individuals who pursue business really do strive to kind of overcome those challenges and adversity. I think that's a key pillar in that entrepreneurial spirit. So thank you, ladies, so much for sharing. And we'll switch over now, transition to our good friends, Mark and John Cronin. John, tell us a little bit about what you do in your business.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Ryan. My name is John. This my partner, my dad, Mark. We are just my dad. We have a business called John's Critic Socks.
What's our mission, pal?
Very happiness.
Spread and happiness. When did we open?
We opened on a Friday, December 9th, 2016.
And we sell in 3 channels, if you will. For most of our time, we have sold direct to consumer through our website. What's our website?
John'sCrazySocks.com.
We also now have products and services for other businesses, so selling B2B for those of you who like acronyms. In fact, we made socks for Austin's Underdawgs.
Yes,
right?
yeah, we do.
And now we've also just recently entered the wholesale channel so that retail stores are starting to carry our products. Thanks for holding up those socks, Austin.
Thank you, Austin.
Austin's got a future as a sock model.
Yeah, he is.
We similar to Grace and Carrie, the business grew out of some adversity. And then once you're in business, there's always going to be some adversity coming around the corner. But what we've created is a slightly different type of business model. It's a social enterprise. So we are a for-profit, but we have a decided social mission to show what people with different abilities can do. And we built the business on 5 pillars.
5 pillars. It's put in hope, give it back, find project you can love, make it personal, and make it quickly to work.
So we're really excited to be here, and we're not experts, but we can share our experience and our journey. And John, how many different socks do we have?
We have 4,000 different kinds of stock, which means I am the world's largest stock store.
World's largest sock store. You've heard from folks elsewhere in the country. We're based on Long Island, outside New York City, but we sell and ship to every state in the union. And how many different countries?
We have over 88 countries.
88 different countries.
That's
So,
incredible.
okay, we're really glad to be here, and
Thank you so much.
look forward to the conversation.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for being here. Great to hear your story as well. John, I did not realize you were now up to 4,000 types of socks and that you are the largest sock store. That is incredible. What a milestone. Very cool. Thank you. We're going to switch over now to our good friend Matthew and hear from him and TJ about Matthew's Bonfire Barbecue. So Matthew, tell us a little bit about what you do.
I am Matthew Hesberg. I'm the Chief Sauce Officer of Matthew's Bonfire Barbecue. And I create and sell barbecue sauce. And it's a family ground business. I like to keep it with the family.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you started it in,
I started in 2019.
yep, October of
Yeah.
2019. So it's been a few years now that we started. He started out with 2 sauces, a Carolina Gold and a blueberry chipotle, and he added a spicier version of the blueberry chipotle, but we're still working on more lines of different types of sauces for his barbecue sauce.
That is incredible. And we were just talking before we started the call, Matthew, that you and I have something in common. We have our roots in North Carolina, at least at some level, right? Pretty cool.
Yeah, so we're based in Detroit, Michigan. But yeah, Matthew, he'll tell a little bit more about that, his inspiration of having barbecue sauce, because he did go to school in North Carolina. But kind of like with John and Mark and with everybody here, a big part of the business is, Matthew's very proud of the sauces and making a good, flavorful sauce. But the other part of it is the advocacy. It's about being a good role model for families in the community to be able to see Matthew at a market doing his thing. And they've got towing their little kids with Down syndrome in line going, hey, this, we got to start thinking about what do our kids love to do, because the passion part of it is a big piece. And for us, it's also about giving back to the communities that have helped us in the past, and getting out into the community and being a member of our local community, and then, trying to spread it even further than the Detroit area as well.
And it is delicious barbecue sauce. We love it.
We should have put a disclaimer on the webinar that people might get hungry with hot dogs and barbecue sauce on the menu here. So fantastic. Well, thank you all so much for these incredible introductions. I know that I am obviously pretty familiar with each of the organizations represented here, but that our attendees would love to learn a little bit more about each of you and what you're going to be doing. So yes, there is a message in the chat that if you have questions for our panelists, to please make sure you submit those questions in the Q&A. We do have a few guided questions, which I will be sort of moderating and making sure that we are getting some more information. But then, of course, we want to make sure that participants also have a chance to ask some of their questions. So I will just go ahead and jump right in. We have the next, I guess, section of our webinar is just some general questions. So I'll open these up to the group, and we'll just kind of get through how we can in terms of participants and panelists and answers. We might not have each of you answer all the questions, but we'll get through what we can. So to start us off, how did you go about starting your own business and deciding what you wanted to sell? So what got you into the market that you're in? Obviously, a pretty diverse array of products here. So what got you started?
I'll jump in here with Austin. He always wanted to own a restaurant, and I didn't want to own a restaurant, even though I do now. But 7 years ago, I thought, I'm not owning a restaurant. So he kept badgering me that he wanted his own restaurant. And I said, well, okay, well, we'll do a food truck. And I just kind of sat up in bed one night and I thought, Underwood is our last name, hot dogs, underdog. And who was called Underdog?
My dad.
Yeah, in high school, his dad was known as Underdog. The football players would call him Underdog. So that's what developed Austin's Underdawgs. And I just thought a food truck would be easier and I would be able to give him some support in that, but not have to do it on a day-to-day brick and mortar type schedule.
We can speak in kind of 3 points, some of these shared. We started out of adversity. John was in his last year of school.
Yes.
And you couldn't find meaningful work. But he's a natural entrepreneur.
Yes, I am.
So what'd you tell me?
I told my dad I want to go visit with him, and nice fellas that build together.
Right? And then why socks?
Why socks? It's fun, it's colorful, it's clear. I'll always let me be me.
So it started, right?
Yes.
Because he couldn't find work, would create something. The idea of socks is because he loved socks, kind of the graphic we shared with you before. But at that point, we decided to test the idea with, you can call it the lean startup. We got something up and running to test to see how customers would respond. Built a quick and easy website on the Shopify platform, got a little bit of inventory. The only marketing we did was to set up a Facebook page. I would take out my cell phone and we made videos, and who was in those videos?
I talk about socks, more socks.
Right? Because one of the things, for people out in the audience think about, we were bootstrapping, and we got asked once by a student, what exactly does that mean? It means you have no money. So you have to make do with what you have. But so we tested the idea, it tested well. And at that point, we knew we could grow the business. We didn't know how fast, we didn't know how large. But I think that's really important to see those components of, you got to have something that you're going to know enough about and care enough about to be able to work in all the time. Because you're going to be, I'm sure Matthew is up to his elbows in barbecue sauce all the time. You better love barbecue sauce. But a real key here is you got to get customers that are willing to pay money for what you do. And one way to do that is go and test the idea.
Yeah, that's great. Great, Mark, John, thank you. Yeah, Gracie.
Well, we touched on what brought Grace's business into being a little bit out of adversity in high school, but ours is a little different. We didn't test anything. We just kind of were thrown into it. Grace.
Yeah, and I started a business since I was in high school.
Yes, out of some bullying. So I don't want to really elaborate on that, but out of that adversity and all the meetings with the school and that kind of thing, the idea came to me actually, and in a time of despair, but it was like a vision. I don't know if anybody's ever had one, but it was literally a vision from my higher power. And Grace had always been good with art. She had funny phrases that she said all the time, but our whole goal in the beginning was to pull the light out of that darkness. And shirts, I don't know why, you have all these sizes of shirts, you have to keep all the sizes in stock. We didn't even think about that.
In my pre-sale, older we're doing Memorial Day, and the flag is just love everybody, and the fireworks is free to be made.
That's our two newest shirts that are coming out. But anyway, that's what prompted us to start the business. So she did her first painting we showed earlier, Be the Light, printed some shirts, offered them out. Our family and friends bought about 40 shirts, and I was like, wow, and then we went on to start the social media pages, which have really driven Grace's business from day one. So 5 years later, here we are with, I don't know, Grace has done 60 or 70 different paintings, which have ended up on shirts. And it's been a blessing to both of us because the light that has been pulled out of that darkness is immeasurable. So if something like that has happened to anyone watching, you can turn all that around and it will bless you tenfold. So
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ladies. Matthew and TJ, you want to tell us a little bit about kind of why barbecue?
Get started.
Well, I like food and I like barbecue. I also started college where I went to Western Carolina University, and I worked at a barbecue smokehouse, and I had an internship there, and made their sauces and rubs. Then my boss, who encouraged me by helping me getting my new line of sauces out there.
Yeah, so Austin, you and Matthew are kindred spirits because Matthew's been badgering us since he's been about 10 or 12 years old that he wants to have a restaurant someday.
Yeah.
So when he worked at this Haywood Smokehouse, which we just saw is like nationally renowned now for their brisket, they made the top 10 in Yelp or something, which is pretty cool. But talk about a wonderful internship. The people that ran the smokehouse knew how Matthew just loved food and gave him so many different skills, not only in the restaurant, but also he made all their sauces. So when it came time to graduate and what comes next, they were like, and Will was just wondered, Will Beasley says, if you want to open a restaurant, a smokehouse in Detroit, I will come to Detroit and help you create a smokehouse. However, it's a lot of work, as you know. So why don't you start, how to make sauces, create your own recipes, get it going, see how it goes. If you still love barbecue and when you're ready to start a restaurant, then give me a call. So it's been a pretty wonderful, wonderful situation.
That's great. And I hear themes, right? These businesses were started out of adversity, out of a passion, a desire, a vision, I've heard as well. And then also just really, you like what you're doing. You like your own product. I think it would be hard to be in business and not like your own product, right? So I think those are some really important things for the audience to take away from this. I'm going to kind of pivot to the next question here and thinking through, what have been some of the growing pains that you've experienced in your businesses? And we don't have to get too into the weeds. I know that, these are family-owned businesses and, having a little back and forth between father, son, and maybe mother, daughter is part of the mix. But what have been some actual, growing pains in the business itself?
From Austin's Underdog standpoint, the first part of it is we bought a trailer. I think Austin mentioned that earlier, and that was our first vehicle. So then it came down to comfort, and that's the in between mother son. I wasn't fond of the trailer, and I wasn't good at backing a trailer up. And I took out a mailbox one day and I said, okay, I think we need a different vehicle. Because when you're driving around to these different parties pulling a trailer, I'm just not good at it. So I wanted more comfort. So we went to an RV. And then of course, you have to wonder, is the business going to sustain that expense? Because the very first year that we were in operation, the trailer was paid for through sales. And then we branched out and bought something 3 times as expensive. And so it was a little scary. And at the same time, where, you know, our challenge is creating a meaningful employment situation for Austin. Austin's the elder in this group at almost age 45. And so he lives on his own and has independently lived for 22 years. But in the beginning, the challenge was a bagger or a courtesy clerk at a grocery store was not going to make him the type of living that he wanted to really have, the type of life he was used to. And so we grew the business based on that, and the growing pain was getting through all the different configurations of a food truck, what we could afford, how we could do our services faster, handle more people, the development of our website and social media, all of that, of course, rested on my shoulders. But those were some of our initial growing pains, and we're still going through them. They never stop.
It's always a learning process. Oh, yeah, Mark.
You know, for starters, if you're going to go into business, there is not a question of will things go wrong. They will go wrong. And it's just a matter of when and how big and how do you respond. So we can share, like even when we started, right? Neither of us, you hadn't sold socks before, right?
Right.
We had no real retail experience, had not run a warehouse before. So we had to learn all of those things. That was both a blessing and a bane. The blessing part, you know, the bane part, I'll start with the negative. We had to learn what other people already knew. But the blessing is we got to approach it with a fresh set of eyes and take approaches that some others didn't take. And some of the bumps are almost comical. You know, here on our first day, what time were we going to open?
A little bit at 10 in the morning.
10 in the morning. Except our webmaster screwed something up in the code and our website crashed. And who was the webmaster?
It's you.
It was me. We were testing it, so we didn't have a lot of inventory. By the second day, we were selling out of everything. So now it's a Saturday night. Where do you get socks on a Saturday night to sell? We drove to every Kmart in Suffolk County on Long Island and bought all the socks we could, just so we could have some socks to sell. Or you know, humorous ones of what goes in every package.
Every package get a sticky note from me and candy.
So what candy did we start with?
Hershey's Kisses.
Hershey's Kisses. And everybody loved it. They all loved the chocolate. Until we hit the springtime and we got the email from the woman in Florida saying, you may not want to send chocolate to the South. You know, so, or, you know, originally we sold other people's socks. Well, we had to learn how to negotiate, how to get volume discounts. Once we started making our own, well, now that's a whole world of dealing with factories and errors and bad runs. And it turns out there are people that are going to promise you they'll do things and then they don't. So there's so much that you're going to learn, but that's part of the lifestyle we've all chosen. We've all chose to go into business, and think how smart you get to become.
It's a great point. Great point. I'm gonna go off script here just real quick. Raise your hand if you own your business and it is a 9 to 5, 5-day-a-week job. I didn't think so. This is around the clock, right? This is a constantly working, constantly moving. You're thinking about it. You're planning your next move. You're having these conversations. You're promoting. So that's another big takeaway, I think, for folks to understand is that when you own your own business, it's not a punch in, punch out as it might be for other forms of employment. Something really important to think about. I'm sorry, Carrie, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. Just one of and that goes to what you just said, because around the clock is a lot of that with us, and what has grown Grace's business is what, Grace?
The marketing,
Marketing and social media.
we love that part.
Well, it's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
No, but anyway, it's true. So, I mean, that's what drives Grace's business is the social media. So you're working all day and you're working up orders and you're shipping orders. And, we're not like John and Mark. We do this out of our home.
Yeah.
So so then you come home and you're thinking, oh, we need to post something on social media. And a lot of that is just sharing Grace's life. I mean, 90% of that with us
Yeah.
is sharing Grace's life, showing her just conversation. And so that you're spreading awareness. And as people, listen and are drawn to Grace and her personality, then they'll see her business side of it, and they'll notice that she has products, and then we'll throw some of that in there a little bit. Some people don't do that. Some people post more about their business, but that's not how we started, and it worked for us. So, but that is a growing pain, learning how to market, how to present it on social media, how to advertise. I mean, has anyone ever looked at Facebook advertising? I mean, it is very involved, and there's so many pieces to it, and finding the suppliers for the shirts, picking the color, picking out the product. I mean, there's a lot involved, and it's continual. It's like Jan said, it's never ending. So just think about that, and it's driven by that, the passion, because it's a lot of work.
Matthew's product's a little bit different in that it's a bottled food product. So all the rules and regulations that you have to take care of with that initially was a lot. And like you said, we weren't experts in any of it, but it's like, don't let that scare you. If you don't know the answer, somebody does. So just keep finding people that you can talk to and work with. We finally got to this Michigan State's Product Center, which was a wealth of information for how to go about getting the nutritional food values, and getting us in line with somebody that could help us with the label, and then print the label, and then buy the bottles, and then find a place to actually make it in a commercial kitchen. And that's a fun part we found with Matthew has a co-packer. So we have somebody that has their own commercial kitchen, but he's wonderful because he calls Matthew and says, hey, I'm doing a run on your sauce. Want to come and help make it?
And I come and help, and I share my secret recipe with them, and they label them and bottle them. And all of that started way before COVID hit. And that shut us down partly.
Yeah, that was a growing pain.
And that was a huge growing pain, but we had to adapt many different ways to sell my products. And we use social media, and I have an online store. And you can,
That's good.
I put my sauces on there, and shirts and Yetis, all the fun stuff.
Ryan, I think if you listen to us, if you were to know all of the problems you would run into, and if you were to know everything you have to learn to run even a small business, the rational thing would be to never get started because it would be overwhelming. But if you listen to each of us here, each have a different story. We each got started and step at a time learned what we had to learn and learn how to grow the business. And that's what you do. It's get started.
Yeah.
You can't wait for perfection. You can't wait till you know everything. Get started and then learn as you go.
So Mark, you have already tackled, I think, what was my next question, which I love, and that is if you all could offer any advice to our audience, right? And keep in mind, we have folks on here that may already be in the startup phases of their own business. These may be individuals that are more, attending from a professional capacity and looking to advise or support individuals with Down syndrome or other disabilities in their employment pursuits. These may be family members, or of course, we might have individuals that are ready to rock and roll and just ready to, as you said, John, get started, right? That whole quote or that phrasing of, is it going to be one day or is it going to be day one, right? You make the choice and just do it. So let's open that question up. What advice would you give to folks that are in the audience? And maybe just tell us exactly who you're speaking to in terms of who this advice would be best suited for.
I think that I've got like 4 key points that I'm unlike the others in this group. I actually came from a 35-year owning my own retail business. I was in the school uniform business. So I feel like I'm one that's virtually experienced every up and down since 1983 in the retail market and the website invention, because it was not invented when I first started. But I think the 4 key parts that I have are make sure that your business idea is valid. And I think Mark touched on this, and that you have a market, that people really want what you're selling. The other leads to the financial aspect of it. You need to make sure that your business has capital and that you can survive 3 years of no income and before you become profitable. So, we don't want people to think that they're going to start this business and day one, they're going to be able to draw several thousands of dollars a month because they've got this business. And there's many ways to do it. Like Mark mentioned the bootstrap way. In many regards, that's what we did with Underdawgs. We didn't have a lot of money, but we had a small loan and we bought the first trailer and decided, we only want to go into debt on this idea X number of dollars. And then, it happened to be something that really blossomed and was quite easy, much easier than the school uniform business. But the other thing is to create something which goes back to the passion that's goal oriented, either for yourself or for your family. My goal has always been that if I'm not around, Austin's life is not disrupted. Austin will still do the same thing that he does today if I'm not here tomorrow. So that's his living independently, that's working his job, that is, not having to be uprooted to another home. So that personally, that was my goal. Also, the one really bad pain that I learned, and it was totally my fault, but it was all due to legal changes in our taxing system in between 2015 and 2016 when we started Austin's Underdawgs. I actually put it in my company name, which I had sold, and I had a shell company, and I thought, I'll just, toss it over here for tax purposes. Well, we could have started the LLC the first year, and what it cost us was Austin's Underdawgs grossed $88,000 in the first 7 months we opened and launched. And of that, we had to pay $49,000 in taxes because it went through my husband and myself. It went through our income. So Austin was kind of the big loser on that one. But I quickly, in January of 2017, we created Underdawgs Family LLC. And so he owns his own company. And this might get into a little too much information, but I just want to quickly say that the other thing is that if you are over 25, I believe it is, and you have moved from the Medicaid support to Medicare, and that was the only thing that we really wanted to have as far as we wanted Austin to always have health insurance, and that was something we could not provide for him. So he went on Medicaid, Social Security, disability, and it allowed him to be in the right to work program where he has his own company, he can own his own home, he can own his car, but God forbid we don't want him to. And it's just something to think about, because that's the number one question that I get is, how does he make any income? Well, if you have a company, then you don't really have to worry about the income, because you can take that income as you need and want and as it's available. So that's it.
And save up for that Corvette too, right, Austin?
Nah.
All right, we'll go to Carrie and Grace next.
Well, I noticed there was a question from someone about advice for
Yeah.
someone that was interested in art. I mean, honestly, just do it. You know, you just do it. You know, just paint the painting, start an Instagram and a Facebook and put it up there and just sell it. You know, just put it for sale, and one thing small like that leads to something else.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have capital to do that. You know, so that's, you know, coming from our perspective, we didn't realize, you know, you did have to have a good bit of money to do all these shirt sizes. Yes, but we started very small, and like we still run this out of the house, because I have, for myself, I did not want to put that much commitment to doing something that like opening a place outside of the home and being committed to having to go there every day. You know, we want to do some traveling and that kind of stuff. So
Right.
it does. What I'm saying is, find your passion, just go for something small, see where it leads, and find. My big thing with us from the beginning is we knew we wanted to give back. We knew that was a huge part of it. And if you find a way to give back, and it doesn't have to be monetary, but just any way to give back, that will draw people into your business. So you make those connections, you give back. It's good for, you know, your passion and your soul and everything else, but it also helps grow your business, because people want to support that. And find help. And you know, Celebrate EDU, which Grace is involved with, she serves on their board, but it's a great resource, because for someone with a disability to learn about the ins and outs of starting a business. And so I would advise that. But again, just start the social media. You know, that's where everything blows up, you know, and see what happens. So that's my advice.
So we are coming up close to the section of our webinar where we want to open it up to audience questions. But I know that Matthew and TJ, you may have something to contribute here as well. So I would love to hear any advice you would offer to our audience before we open it up to audience questions.
Yeah, quick. It's a lot of some of the similar things. What would be your biggest advice?
It is important to surround yourself with good people and work hard and be passionate with what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'd say a big part of Matthew's business is he definitely
back to the community. And community is one of my biggest things I like to do.
Yeah, yep. The giving back portion, as you said, and a big part of it is a portion of your proceeds goes back to a couple of places that have helped Matthew get to where he's at today. The UP program at WCU, Ruby's Rainbow. So he sends a portion of his proceeds to both of those so they can continue to help other people find their passions. And when they go to a college program and they go to an event and they hear a UP student talking, that's what his proceeds go to, the UP program, so they can have some travel expenses to go to conferences and things. So, and that helps drive your passion too, when you know that you're helping other people like you get involved in programs that are making you happy.
Ryan, I'd hit on three quick things. One, and Jan was referring to this, you got to make sure the business is built around, you know, in this case, my partner, both how's it going to fund his life, but also what can he do so that it's truly his business and John is involved. Second, it's a business. You've got to have a market and people that are willing to pay. You can make art, we could make socks, you could make food, whatever you want. If people aren't willing to pay for it, it's not a business. And the last thing is know your why. Why are you doing this? You know, Jan, you in Austin, you're not selling hot dogs, you're doing more than that. There's a different why to it. The same with the barbecue, the same with Grace's business. And with you, and you got to know that why, because that's going to sustain you. I do want to put a plug out there. For those of you that are thinking of starting a business, but you're not sure how to get started or where, we're rolling out a program called JCS Champions that will put people with different abilities into their own business by giving them a business in a box, by providing training, the inventory, and all the materials that they'll need to get started in business. And we're working with celebrate.edu on it. You can go to our website, go down to the bottom of the page and see about JCS Champions. But that could be a way for people to get started.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. And we have Amanda on the call now. Going to field a few questions from the audience and share those with our panelists.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all again so much. I know that I've been keeping up with the Q&A chat here, and everyone has really appreciated your insights. One of the questions that came through is actually dealing with both social media and websites. So I'm going to kind of tie these together. The first question was, do you need a website to get started, or can you rely on social media? So that's question one. And tied to that, if you don't know much about social media, how do you go about that? Did you hire someone externally or just try to figure it out? So that's kind of the first couple questions that I'd like to pose to you all.
I think on the website end, it's gotten so simplified right now. I just made a website for a friend of mine last night. It took me an hour and 20 minutes to sell her art online, and she was just blown away. But you know, if you're going to sell a product, you definitely need a website. And I think that Instagram and Facebook are great, but the Facebook platform really changed in the past couple of years when they went to Meta and they became the business suite. I used to be able to run Facebook ads and say, I want to spend $5 a day for 3 days, and I could throw something out that I wanted to. And now you can't do that anymore. So it's really, I don't do any Facebook advertisements, but as far as your updates, we create all of our own. And, but I do think that a website is paramount. I think it's paramount for once you've established your business, you need to look like a business, and you have to project success. Even if you're failing miserably. It's like the old adage, never let them see you sweat. So that was one of the greatest things I ever heard, because it's the truth. You want to portray success at whatever you do, because and in your social media post, it should always be positive and great things, and not woe is me. We had a tornado come through the other day and now we don't have any money, blah, blah, blah. You know, there's just, I read a lot of that on Facebook, and for me, it's just kind of a big fail. People don't want to know the failures. They want to help. They want to help you get somewhere, but they want to know that what they're helping you with, i.e. buying your products, is going to be meaningful for you and what your mission is. And we also give back to the community a lot. So it does raise our support level, I think, quite a bit because of that giving back.
Can I hop in?
Absolutely, go for it.
Well, yes, I agree. You definitely need a website. Who built yours, Grace?
We got back from California. So our sister is Tennessee. She's about to go somewhere.
She built,
and she built my website.
yeah,
My hello book, those fucking card. She did that. And Lemonade and Beeline is like all over my website.
yeah, that's the background like of her website, but her sister built it. It's a family affair here. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, yes, before we launched Grace's first product. So she painted her first design in the fall of one year. We launched it on World Down Syndrome Day in 18 for a purpose, it was, that was we wanted to do that. And the website was ready then. So yes, you need to have the website, you need to have the social media presence too. I firmly believe that, and it's a personal reason, because that's what has grown Grace's business.
Yeah.
I mean, Jan and Austin are a little different because it's a food truck, but with us, that has grown her business almost 100% of it. That's where she's gotten to do other things, like people have learned about her from her social media for her business, her speaking engagements, and other things that she's done that have grown out of starting the business. So
a lot of it depends on where you're selling to, what your market is. But Jan's right. It's so easy to set up a simple website now. If you want to sell on it, the platforms out there include Shopify, WooCommerce, Square. You can easily set something up. On social media, just a couple of things to think about. One, separate organic social media from thinking about advertising. Two, be wary. Once people know you have a business, you will get about 50 emails a day of people promising you the moon. They're not, they can't do it. Social media, you don't have to be on all platforms. Figure out the platforms that are going to work for you. We're now on multiple platforms, but like, Grace and Carrie was saying, we grew mainly on Facebook. You want to control that yourself. You want that to be in your voice and have the immediacy you can have, like you do by showing what Grace is doing. But that's separate from advertising, and you don't want to try to be on all platforms at the same time. Pick one or two that you're comfortable with, where your audience is. Find that fishing hole and go after them there.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for sharing your expertise today. I know we are getting really close to time, and actually, I think we just hit a minute over, but I do just want to take a moment to sincerely thank everyone on the call today for their expertise. I know we weren't able to get to everyone's questions today in the Q&A, but really just want to say thank you all again for being here. You all have shared such phenomenal insights with everyone, and just really want to say thank you so much for attending today. A couple kind of close out points here before we end today's webinar, just to make a point here. Definitely be sure to download the entrepreneurship guide. I put a link in the chat a little bit ago, so definitely be sure to check that out. We also hope that you will consider joining us for some of our upcoming NDSS events. I'm going to put those in the chat as well. Just another way for you all to think about getting involved in networking with some of these entrepreneurs as well. So definitely a great way to kind of continue to engage and have those conversations, because you never know. And I'm sure everyone on the call, Matt and TJ, Grace, Carrie, John, Mark, Austin, and Jan, all of them will probably tell you how important networking is, right? To finding those and building those connections and just being active in the community. I know everyone here has talked about how important that is to be involved and be engaged. So these are just a few other options to be involved with. Last thing that I wanted to mention before the formal closeout is there is going to be a post-webinar survey that will pop up on your screen. If you can please take a moment to let us know your thoughts on today's webinar and other ideas that you might have for future events. we would love to hear those ideas. So definitely please feel free to share those. It is an anonymous survey. So, and we do look forward to seeing your feedback and bringing you more events like this one. So definitely looking forward to that as well. And then just again, in closing, I just want to say thank you all again for joining us for today's webinar. Thank you to all the panelists. You all, again, I cannot stress how phenomenal you all are and just how incredible everyone is on the call. So really do appreciate everyone being here. And also, again, do want to give a special shout out to Jenny and Linda Anderson from Celebrate EDU for all of their help in being such an integral part of the Entrepreneurship Guide's development process. And I'm going to put, in case you do have other questions that we were not able to answer in today's event, I know some of the panelists are putting their emails in the chat here. I'm going to add one more to that. If you do have other questions, please feel free, or about employment, entrepreneurship, NDSS, other things like that, please feel free to reach out to us at employment@ndss.org. And again, thank you all so much for being here and really do appreciate it. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's my question.